before you hit.
All right, so it's technically one-on-one. I know it's right after lunch, so there'll probably be just a couple more people coming in, but we'll get started. Not real big on talking about myself in such a short period of time, so I won't, but my name's Kevin Cole. I know I look like I'm 12, but I've been doing this for about 20 years, 43. Talking about dyslexia, okay? First things first. If somebody is very, very attached to referring to their dyslexia, theirs, as a learning disorder, or excuse me, a learning disability, I'm cool with that, okay? But I don't think it's a learning disability. I don't believe in learning disabilities, okay? Everyone can learn. It's a learning difference. It's a learning difference, okay? Let me repeat that first part again, because that's important. Because sometimes people say, no, it really is a disability. Well, cool, I don't want to challenge that. It doesn't matter. I'm not concerned about semantics. But I do think it's best to stop teaching it as a disability, okay? It really is a learning difference. And I'll be teaching you guys today, not just talking, but teaching you guys how to literally resolve many of the symptoms that come along with dyslexia. No, we're not going to cure dyslexia, okay? I'm not Tom Cruise, okay? Tom Cruise has had dyslexia. He says that it's cured, and I'm cool with that, however people want to refer to that, okay? But there is actually, there is a literal brain difference. I don't just mean chemistry, because chemistry changes from one moment to the next, okay? But it really is, that's something very legitimate, okay? But that doesn't mean that we have to quote unquote suffer from the challenges. We can learn to improve on those and to be able to overcome those challenges and improve upon the strengths, because there are so many strengths. Just for fun real quick, come on up here and just juggle for like 30 seconds. There are so many strengths to having dyslexia. Dyslexics can be some of the most creative, quote-unquote, right-brain people on the planet. And they can be incredibly left-brain too, by the way. Einstein was both. Thank you very much. I can't do that, okay? And I promise you he could do much better. And so the thing is that we want to help people, and instead of being like, oh, I'm sorry, you have dyslexia, so let's help you to cope, okay? No. I want to help them to recognize the many, many strengths and point out the numerous different people. I got a little cheat sheet that I wrote down so I can remember some. Pablo Picasso, again, Albert Einstein, yes, Tom Cruise, Steve Jobs had dyslexia. Whoopi Goldberg has dyslexia, Cher has dyslexia, Robin Williams had dyslexia, Walt Disney had dyslexia. Okay, what a terrible disability. Oh my gosh, poor people. It's just they're cursed for life. Never make it anywhere. We'll just keep them in the special classes. Which, by the way, in fairness, they don't do that anymore. Okay. In fairness, I find that the educational system, thankfully, is catching up to some of the things that I'm going to be teaching you guys today. I've been impressed with how they're actually utilizing a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching, or some of it at least. That said, again, it's a legitimate thing, okay? Now, I do find that far too many people self-diagnose themselves as dyslexic because they have trouble spelling, okay? Raise your hand if you have any challenge, not any, but raise your hand if you think that you are a bad speller. Okay, cool. Raise your hand if you would like to change that today. Okay? Raise your hand if you would like to change that today in as little as 5 minutes. Cool. Excellent. Now, for those that, for anyone here that may have dyslexia, and I don't mean necessarily, well, even if you do self-diagnose, that's cool too. But if you do have dyslexia and you feel comfortable raising your hand, then raise your hand if you have dyslexia. Cool, excellent. So, first things first. What are some of the most common challenges with dyslexia? Share some. What do you guys think? What are some of the most common challenges? Reading? Absolutely.
Just general learning difficulty. My daughter is dyslexic and she's extremely highly motivated, and she works enormous hours, and she did that for many years before the teachers actually realized that she was actually dyslexic.
Yeah. What else? What are some of the most common challenges that people face with dyslexia?
Well,
Or, I'm sorry.
People's opinion of what dyslexia actually is the biggest challenge.
That's fair. On that note, yeah, dyslexia is not something to box in and be like, this is what they always have. This is and that's across the board with everything, by the way. Everything from dyslexia to autism to you name it. Don't box people in and say, okay, they have this, so they must have this. And that also that they have this, for example, if they have challenges spelling, doesn't necessarily mean they even have dyslexia. Okay. But nonetheless, what would you say is
Well, my
a common
biggest
challenge?
challenge is that I don't do contractions well or past tenses. So I'll write words, and this is, well, it's okay that we're in hypnotherapy, we don't use not words.
I do.
But the thing is that if I'm writing, and I write, instead of can't, I'll write can, which has a totally different connotation. And so I'll write, I have to proofread everything that I write. Now, I can catch it if I read the context of the sentence and say, no, that I meant can't, or don't, or shouldn't, or whatever. Or past tense, instead of visit, I visited. I'll say visit, something like that. Those types of things are my challenges. Also words that have any kind of ending on them, like y, ing, that kind of stuff. I have to go back and read it because oftentimes I don't write it, even though I know what the word is and I recognize it when I see it, even if it was me that wrote it.
I gotcha. Raise your hand if you've ever done something like that and you don't have dyslexia.
yeah.
Just saying. Cool. All right. Let's see here. Anything else? Or anyone else? Anyone else want to add? What's a common challenge?
When I was younger, I always wrote backwards. So I guess I always call it a switch. So every letter I see, I switch. I don't know if that's happening anymore. I don't write backwards anymore. But half the time I can't read anything I write.
Do you mind if I look?
No, go ahead. It's like, these are my notes, but I can't read them at the end of the day hardly.
Okay, raise your hand if you've ever had that issue as well. Just say. Okay, cool. Can you read that?
If I maybe.
Want me to read it for you?
You should be able to read it.
Were you able
Okay.
to, were you able to
I mean,
read
did it.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Kevin?
Huh?
Kevin?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please, to make sure to repeat the question back so we don't
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes. Thank you for the reminder on that. It wasn't necessarily a question, but it was just simply the statement that the gentleman has, at least he said in the past, he said that he used to. He said that he used to write things backwards. Okay? I think you said, correct me if I'm wrong.
When I was a kid.
Yeah, when you were a kid. And then you said that you, just reading your own notes.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard because I leave out stuff or I put stuff in. So, or I misspell it or whatever. But I can sort out most of the stuff I write. So it's like, write the lesson you learned. Frame first. Bucket, it just says bucket list. Before you die, make a bucket list. Back pain, 9. Learn weight, neck pain, better eyes. And sometimes I don't know what all that means at the letter. And then absorption, point with feeling. Point where you feel. So,
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's
But
my fault.
I can project. But basically, I leave out stuff because I can't write it fast enough, and they're already somewhere else. So I'm like, point where feeling. So point where the feeling is. So I left out is, and then and then I come back and I try to write in.
Okay.
So
and you realize you're the only person, dyslexia or not, that has that problem. None of us have ever done that.
No, I didn't say that. I just said that. Yeah,
But I hear what you're saying. I definitely hear what you're saying.
it sucks that I can't. I write a bunch of books too. I write poetry books, for kids and stuff. And I have about a stack that big, but I have to go back and just almost rewrite half of it because I don't know what it was. But I mean, I'm quick on the feet, so I can just make it up as I go along.
Okay. Is that something you would like to improve?
I want to
Or not.
improve anything. Anything I can improve.
I don't know if that's true.
Well, if I can improve.
Would you like to? Would you like to improve on that?
Sure.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you like to improve on that?
8.
Cool. Okay. By the way, yes, that's so important. That's so important. Hold on 1 second. All too often, people we just be like, oh, they have a problem with this, so we have to fix it. There's a billion different problems that we have. Okay, and the person may or may not be motivated to fix it. I don't juggle. I would like to, but honestly, if you ask me on a scale of 1 to 10, how much am I really determined to learn how to juggle? Maybe a 5. Okay, so you want to make sure that they want it. Okay, so it's so important. Yes, sir. Is this?
Take this rubber.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Better recording.
Okay, perfect. By the way, it's a great hypnotic suggestion, what he just did. Okay. Here, this is going to make you speak more clearly, Mr. Stutter Boy. Okay. But nonetheless, again, I want to find out what they want. Okay? I don't care if it's with dyslexia, I don't care if it's with autism, I don't care what it is. The first question I want to find out from them is, what do you want? I don't want to just assume that certain things are problems and say, okay, well, we have to fix this. Okay? Now, that said, if we're in school and it's things that are very important, such as lowercase d's and b's, which you don't have to be dyslexic to have challenges with that. That's a common thing. I'll be teaching you a super simple way of solving that. And that will be in less than 5 minutes, be less than a minute, really. But nonetheless, with that exception, with the exception of, okay, they're in school, they need to be learning how to do this stuff, okay? As adults, find out if they want it, okay? Find out if they want it first, okay? Yes, sir?
Just one quick question. What's the correlation between being left-handed and being dyslexic? Is there a correlation?
I don't know. I don't know. I do find, here's what I find. Oh, thank you. You might have to remind me of that a billion more times. The question is, specifically, you said, what is the correlation between right and left-handed in regards to dyslexia? My answer is, I don't know. But Kevin Cole's independent research has shown, okay, that means that I'm just pulling some science out of my ass, is that left-handed people tend to be much more creative, okay? But I haven't found that common. I haven't found that, like, okay, they're left-handed, so they're dyslexic. That doesn't mean that it's not the case. The more I research it, I do find that people will be like, yeah, I'm left-handed, but I know a lot of right-handed people that are dyslexic.
Because if you are dyslexic, because when you write left-handed, you're actually making it more difficult probably to...
Not for somebody who's left-handed.
When you're learning how to write, you're covering up over the words.
When I was younger, I wrote upside down. I just turned the paper and I'd write upside down and go.
Again, difference, not disability. And yeah, it's just for somebody who's left-handed, it's easy. If anything, and I don't know if they're still doing it, but like when my brother, he's left-handed, he's not dyslexic. He's very creative, he's not dyslexic. The teachers tried to get him to stop doing that. Like, no, you got to do it the normal way, okay? No, okay? Let people be the way that they are, okay? For them, it is easier, even though it's like, oh, you can't see it as clearly. And by the way, I'd be willing to bet that there's some minor modifications that you can negotiate, quote unquote, with them, and be like, hey, how do you do? Oh yeah, that's still comfortable, and I can see it. You know, we can just tweak it a little bit. Does that make sense? I know it makes sense. Of course it makes sense. So cool. All right, so let's jump right into one of my favorite techniques, where I get to help. Literally, I have helped people that have gone through their entire lives thinking that they were stupid. Okay, that's not my projection. That's their belief. Okay, gone through their entire lives thinking that they were stupid because some of them were terrible spellers. Okay, it didn't necessarily mean that they had dyslexia. They may or may not have. Okay, but they were terrible spellers, and in as little as 5 minutes, I was able to help them to let me switch it again so I speak clear. In as little as 5 minutes, they were able to be able to spell quite excellent. So again, raise your hands if somebody who at least thinks that they are a bad speller. Okay, your hand went up first, so do you mind if I put you on the spot and just ask you? Can you spell kitchen for me? Kitchen for me. Can you spell that?
Kitchen.
Yeah, no, you spelled this fine. What's that?
Did you say I spelled it wrong?
No, you spelled just fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said you spelled just fine.
Okay.
Okay? Here's the thing too. All too often, now of course, and for the sake of time, I'm kind of speeding through it. I would ask a couple more, okay? But all too often people have the belief, or limited belief, that they are terrible spellers and or that they have dyslexia because they think they're terrible spellers, when in reality, no, they spell just fine. They probably have had challenges spelling words that they don't see very often, okay? Notice what I just said, that they don't see very often, okay? Little hint on some of the things I'll be teaching in a little bit, okay? So who else? Who else thinks that they have trouble spelling? Yeah, yes sir.
Computers though.
What's that?
I just got lazy because I know the computer's gonna fix it for me.
Fair, but you may or may not be such a bad speller, okay? You may be in certain moments, like you said, lazy, okay? Raise your hand if you've ever done that, okay? I know it's, but spell crocodile for me.
CROCIDILE.
Almost, almost. So,
You got qualified.
but almost. Slow down and,
CROCADILE.
what's that?
CROCADILE. Is that what it is?
Not quite.
Crocodile?
Not quite, unless I'm screwing
If I
up.
was in Florida, that'd be great. I know it.
Well, notice what he just did. Hear what he just did. Ooh, I love that. Yeah. Hear what he just did. Okay, crocodile. He's trying to spell it phonetically. Okay. Now I have to give a disclaimer here because otherwise you guys get it right. That young man swore. Okay. Melissa tears. Damn it. I'm so jealous of her. She could say fuck this, fuck that, fuck this. Nobody complains. Me, that young man, he swore too much. Okay. But fuck that phonological bullshit. And by the way, not too much, okay? It has its place, okay? But phonetics, okay? Meaning just simply trying to sound it out, okay? Yes, many different words, many different words we can sound out, and it's useful to be able to do that, okay? But that's not how optimal spelling is done. Optimal spelling is done by visualizing it. Okay, which you were doing, but you were also trying to sound it out. Okay, and we'll do a little demo up here, and you guys will have a better idea of what I'm talking about in regards to how I could tell that he was visualizing it. Okay, but nonetheless, he was looking up into his visual field. For him, he was looking up. You were looking up into your left. Okay, for him. Okay, and that's probably, although I don't know yet, I probably will use as a demo to see if that's how you actually visually remember things the best. Might be where you visually create things. I don't know yet. Okay, but nonetheless, it's visual. Okay, if we try to, yeah, because crocodile, like, especially the way that he was doing it. Okay. By the way, please somebody correct me because sometimes I just screw up my spelling too. Crocodile, CROCODILE. Yeah. Okay. But he was trying to do it crocodile. Okay. Does that make sense? Can you, yeah.
When he was looking up to the left, he was constructing it as...
No, actually, you need to train with me. Because the thing is that, we'll get into that, that. The books are not correct on regards to if they, as far as the generalization of if they look in one direction or the other, it's great. It's unique to the individual. We'll get into it, So nonetheless, again, can you guys hear that though? We're trying to sound it out. Now what are we taught? What are we taught when we're kids and adults? Fuck me, you know, jeez. I mean, sorry, maybe I shouldn't do too much of the swearing, but wow, talk about a mind F for a kid, okay? And then talk about making them feel stupid. It's like, well, I'm doing it the way you're teaching me to, but it's, oh, but you need to just blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, let's teach kids the right way, okay? Yes?
Something similar to me, as I learned,
I'm listening.
was to sound out the words, but that turned into just an auditory sound inside my head. So I wasn't even painting the pictures that the words were telling me. And then I took it a step further. I started visualizing the words in my head, which is, again, not the story. Thus, I lost,
yes.
I lost interest, and I couldn't go further than a few sentences.
Thank you
before
for
I
the
bored.
question. For that. Yeah. So what, you know what, I'm just going to cheat and I'm going to do this. Do you mind speaking to the camera? Yeah, just easier.
Start over again.
Yeah.
When I was young, I was told to sound out the words, and so therefore I ended up with only an auditory voice in my head narrating the story. I didn't paint a picture of the actual story being told and narrated. And then I took it a step further. I began making pictures of the words in my head, which then didn't help me stay awake and stay interested. So later on, learned NLP and figured out what I was doing wrong there, making pictures.
Cool. Well, and I'll just add to that slightly. Yeah, he learned what he was doing wrong, but my guess is that he's also learned what he did right when he did it right. Strategy for how you do it well. Okay. But yes. So again, it's all about helping the individual to figure out the specific strategy that works best for them. Okay. And we'll come back to that in a little bit, so it's nice and clean. But nonetheless, we're back to the spelling aspect of it. Come on up here if you don't mind. Let's see here.
Where do you want me?
Just right facing them, So the thing is that when we process information, okay, we have to process it through at least one, usually more, of our 5 senses. Okay, visual, auditory, kinesthetic being a fancy name for touch and emotional feelings. Okay, tactile touch and emotional feelings, and then fancy words being gustatory and olfactory, being taste and smell. Okay, olfactory being smell, gustatory being taste. Okay. Nonetheless, in order for us to process any information, we have to move our eyes in some way. Okay? Now, sometimes it's like practically microscopic because it's like somebody won't move their eyes very much at all. Okay? But in general, we will. Okay? So I want you to do a favor. Describe your kitchen for me.
Okay. It's got some countertops, and it's got cupboards, got a microwave, juicer.
Cool. Now, do you notice where he's moving his eyes? Now, at first, it was down here. Okay? It was down here because he was associated to it. He's like, okay, I'm in my kitchen. It's right there. But then he started visualizing it. And for him, and correct me because I can't see the same angle. You guys have a better angle than I do. They're usually the better judge because sometimes we'll think, well, like, no, I was looking this way, but they'll be a better judge of that. It looked to me like he was looking that way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which was, exactly, so as I said, the same thing he did over there, okay, where for him it was up and to his left, okay. Now, in a lot of NLP books and a lot of trainers that just memorize what somebody else taught them and then they repeat the same stuff without actually paying attention to the real world, they will say, okay, so always if somebody looks up and to their left, that means that they're visually remembering things, okay. No, that's not always true. Okay, you ask me, I'm almost always going to look up and to my right. That just tends to be the way that I process information. It doesn't matter if I'm creating something, meaning imagining something, or if I'm remembering it. Now, what do you think is the best way to spell? To visually remember something or to visually create something? What do you think is the best way? Remember,
I say.
Exactly. Remember, okay? Because you're wanting to remember how it's spelled. Okay, so his kitchen. So the thing is, by just paying it, with a little bit of practice, you'll start to just notice and just pay attention to where they look. But the fastest way is just ask them simple questions like that. Now, just for some contrast, for some fun, now what I want you to do is I want you to imagine a purple caterpillar on the back of an orange elephant. Just imagine it.
Got it.
Cool. And notice where his eyes moved? Okay? So he's got a pretty clean distinction. Okay, again, me, I'm a little bit different that way. I tend to just one way, okay? Don't know why, I don't really care. But nonetheless, that's just useful, and that's got a nice clean aspect of things. So the thing is, what we do is we teach people, in your case, first of all, what we want to do is let them know, stop trying to sound it out. Just take a deep breath in, and see it. See the word. Visualize it. Okay? How do you spell crocodile?
Crocodile.
Cool. How do you spell kitchen?
Kitchen.
Cool. How do you spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
Just like it sounds.
Almost. How do you spell camera?
Camera.
Cool. Yeah. Just remember that. But before you go, we're going to have some fun with something else.
Okay.
Something that really puts people on the spot. And this is what I do, by the way. when someone has a challenge, if you see that, or if you hear rather, that their spelling is just, ooh, okay, maybe you want to ease them into it a little bit so that they don't, so that they don't feel like, whoa, I'm terrible, because even with this information of visualizing it, that they got it wrong. We don't want to do that, okay? But we get to help them to recognize how photographic their mind can be with a little bit of practice, okay? So what I'm going to do, what I start out with, and let me do it with a marker. What I start out with is numbers. Okay? I like to start out with a number, and the reason why is because in general we've kind of been, well, not so much anymore, but we used to be taught to memorize phone numbers. Okay? Not so much anymore, but nonetheless, I start out with a series of numbers. Okay? Any random numbers. Okay? And don't let him or her, whoever it is, see what it is. Okay. 5, 2, 1. I'm just kidding. Let's see here. Okay, all that I'm going to do, I'm going to hold it up in his visually remembered field. Where's his visually remembered field? Yeah, okay. I'm just going to hold this up for maybe a second, okay? Literally just like this. I'm going to be like this, okay? That's all I'm going to get, okay? Then I'm going to ask him to just visualize it, just to see it, and then see how well he does. By the way, I don't care how well he does, okay? I don't care, okay? Because we're going to get better at it no matter what. Okay, well, unless he gets it perfect, then we're going to be like, cool, problem solved. Okay, so I want you to just see that. Now, I want you to visualize. Watch his eyes.
Yeah,
Watch his eyes. What's the number?
71864.
Yep. Okay.
If you hadn't asked me to visualize that, I would not have been able to pull those numbers out.
Exactly, because
I would be like 7, 1.
Exactly. Did you see what he just did with his eyes? He'd be like 7, 1, 6, 7, or he would be like, oh shit, he's put me on the spot. Okay. By the way, this tends to be how we feel things the strongest, when we look down. Okay. That's why we say, like, what's going on? I seem kind of down today. So and their feelings. Okay. And this also tends to be where we self-talk a lot. Okay, and I'll get into that a little bit more. I'll go through the whole visual thing, but I find it's easier just to jump right into it. So nonetheless, what's a word that in the past you've, or can you think of a word that you've had trouble spelling?
Hierarchy.
Hierarchy. Okay, that's a
I
tricky
still don't know how to spell it.
Oh, you're on the spot now.
Yeah, me too. I'm on the spot now.
Pick a name where you want, though. That's just
No, that's cool. No, just give me a moment. I think I got that one. Let me see. Let's see. Let me do it without cheating.
Smartphones are coming out, I see.
I know. It's okay. I'm gonna take a guess, because that is a tricky one for me too. And you know why? In full transparency, because I'm trying to sound it out, and I haven't taken the time to actually visualize it. Okay, with that one. Okay, but nonetheless, I'm gonna give it a shot. Well, actually, you give it a shot first. Let's see what happens.
I think it's H-I-E-R-A-R-C-H-Y.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
H-I-E-R-A-R-C-H-Y, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah. See how I did that? It took me out of the spot.
But I was trying to visualize it. Yeah.
Exactly. You didn't try. You did.
Yeah. As opposed to sounding it out.
Exactly.
It's a great tip. Thank you.
It's trademarked. It's mine. I'm just kidding. I learned from Richard Band, but I learned it from whoever. I don't know. So cool. Exactly. Please give him a round of applause.
Now you know how to spell it forever.
Yes.
Literally. And by the way, how will I take it a step further? One more. Yeah. I will have them spell it backwards. Okay. Spell it backwards. Take your time. And yeah.
Y.
Mm-hmm.
H. C. I have problems doing that.
I have problems doing it too, you're not alone. But nonetheless, for the sake of time, we won't do that. But you do that, okay, they've got it. Okay? Exactly.
Really visualizing it when they get it backwards.
Exactly. Especially when you add color to it. You can add color to it. You can add, the more they visualize it, the more they're going to have it locked in, the more they're going to go from getting D's and F's on the spelling bees for kids, obviously, to getting A's. Literally in as little as 5 minutes.
Could you explain adding color to it?
I'm sorry? Could I explain?
Adding color to it?
Adding color to it, yes. The thing is that when we add color to it, it's more visual. Okay? Remember, we're just getting them to visualize it better. Okay? We're getting them to visualize it better. That's what it's all about. Yes, ma'am?
This works for foreign languages as well, just to throw that in. I've done
Yes.
a technique with my daughter in Spanish where she's written out flashcards and
Yes, exactly. What she just said is that, absolutely, this works in foreign languages as well. Go figure. Yes, absolutely. Okay? And yes, she says that, you know, uses flashcards, absolutely. By the way, catch them young enough, you don't need the flashcards. Okay? Get them practicing, get them used to just visualize. They can visualize the flashcard in their head. Okay? Now they're going to have super memories. Now they're going to be some of the most intelligent people on the planet. Side note. Valuable side note. Okay? Dramatic pause. With the cough. Okay? Dramatic pause. The more visual somebody is, the more susceptible they can be to having high anxiety. Teach them while they're young to chill the F out. Okay? While being visual. Teach them while they're young, okay? Because if somebody stutters a lot, if somebody has very, very high anxiety, I could virtually guarantee they're highly visual, okay? But it's a superpower, okay? We just want to teach them better, teach them how to do that, okay? Which we'll get into. We'll actually teach relaxation techniques. By the way, guess what? Dyslexics tend to be the most visual people on the planet. Okay? Yeah, you're very visual. Well, by the way, so is everybody else. Visual. But yeah, dyslexics tend to be the most visual people on the planet. Einstein, do you think he came up with these concepts by just seeing a black screen in his head? No, of course not. He literally would visualize, of course, you know, LSD apparently helped. I don't know if that's true or not. I shouldn't say that, I don't know if it's true. But nonetheless, that'll help. No, I'm kidding. He would visualize literally cruising around on an atom. Okay? He would do that in his head. Okay? But again, just as a very important side note, they can become, and by the way, that's what tends to happen with people with dyslexia is that, again, they're trying, literally, instinctually, they tend to start out trying to visualize it. But what do the teachers do? What do the teachers do? Sound it out, sound it out, sound it out. Okay? Now, I don't remember if I had mentioned that those with dyslexia very, very often, very commonly have a genuine auditory processing quote-unquote disorder. Okay? It's very genuine, that's very real, that's very legitimate for many, if not most. I think, say like statistically like 75%. Okay? It's very genuine. Okay? I've learned by just paying attention, I started noticing things like, because most of what I learned in this stuff, I didn't research it, I just paid attention to who's in front of me. Okay? And started noticing things, that's why I say like Kevin Cole's independent research has shown. And then I find the statistics later on. Okay? But I just tend to think it's a good form of dyslexia in that way. I tend to, let's find out what works in real life first, and then I'll study the statistics. Okay? But nonetheless, and I'll get to your question, yeah. Nonetheless, so get my train of thought back for a moment here. Yeah, the auditory processing. I noticed that oftentimes, not always, but they tend to have a little bit of a lisp. Okay? And I can only imagine that that's part of the auditory processing aspect. But again, what do the teachers do? For one, they think that they're having trouble focusing because they're like, oh, stop looking off into space. Look here, okay? If anybody is just looking at you this way, then they're probably trying too hard to look like they're paying attention. Okay? Because most of the time we have to move our eyes in some ways to process the information that you're saying. Okay? So they're trying to, quote unquote, look off into space, but what they're really trying to do is visualize what the heck they're supposed to spell. Okay? And they say, no, stop that. Pay attention. Okay? Does this make sense? Can anybody relate to this, even if you don't have dyslexia? Yeah. Can you remember those damn they meant well. Okay.
You're staring down at the paper trying to remember stuff.
Exactly.
Help you do that.
Exactly. Okay. What was your question?
That's almost exactly it. I rank myself as a pretty good speller, yeah. But when there's a word which I have to try and recall and I'm not sure, I write it out. I can't see it in my head, but I can write it out and I know whether it's correct or not.
Come on up, if you don't mind. Do you mind? Being on camera? You cool?
I think I'm good.
All right, cool. Turn this way. Okay. You said, first of all, you said the C word. Okay.
What's the C word?
I can't say it, there's ladies around. I'm kidding. Can't. He said can't. Okay. I don't let my clients say can't. Okay. I can't let them say can't. Now, the thing is that yes, you can, if you don't mind turning this way, you can visualize the word. Okay.
Yeah.
You got used to practicing. It just felt easier. Okay, to write it down, kinesthetic. Okay, it felt easier to do that. Okay, but you can visualize the words. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you visualize it when you recognize it on the paper.
How so? How do you mean?
I mean, if there's a word I'm not sure, let's say the full hierarchy, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
If you write it out, you immediately know whether it's correct or not. So let's say something like receive, you know, whether it's I-E or E-I.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, correct. At the same time, just so you know, you don't necessarily have to. Okay? You don't have, meaning as long as you're willing to practice visualizing it. I mean, yes, you can double check this, and by the way, it could literally be that he's just, the way that he's double checking is that he's getting the feeling of, that feels right. I'm not saying that's the case. It's a good possibility. Okay? Because if you remember, that looking down is more of our feelings. Okay? It's actually traditionally the way that the spelling strategy has been taught. I just found that most of the time you can cut out the middleman. They don't have to complicate. It's just do this and they're done. Okay? But traditionally, it was taught look up into wherever they visually remember, and then look down into their right. But I did find that that overcomplicated the process most of the time. So that's why I don't teach that anymore. But nonetheless, that's quite possibly what we were doing. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for putting you on the spot. That's all I mean.
I just wanted to say that what I consider writing things down after you visualize them is just a translation to communicate to someone else. Because was a terrible test taker.
I love you. Yeah, I love how you correct
Okay?
yourself.
And the thing is that I would have it up here, but I couldn't get it down here. So if I practiced writing it as I visualized it, then I could translate it to the teacher or whomever what they expected to see.
Yeah, well, and if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty important to do anyway, because that's what the test is about. It's not an oral test, it's a written
Well,
test.
that's how I overcame my test anxiety, was because I knew that I knew it up here. All I needed to do was to translate it. So I kind of like inverted my brain to the paper and wrote it down.
Cool, okay. Basically what she said is that for her, a strategy, by the way, when people are giving us those strategies, listen to them. Take notes, okay? Because so much of what I like to do, instead of just like, let me do this technique, let me help you. It's like, what did you do in the past that worked? Okay, what do you say you keep doing that? Okay, so unless your specific strategy was that it helped her to overcome her test anxiety, okay, to write it down first, and then that made it easier for her to translate it to the teacher, okay? Now, as I mentioned, it's like, well, it's kind of important to do anyway, unless it's an oral test. But either way, bam, cool. So if they got test anxiety, instead of me pulling to my toolbox and like, oh, let me fix this, whatever, it's like, well, remember your strategy. I like to call it the do-it-your-damn-self technique. Okay? Meaning they already know how to do it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. Yes?
Does this work for remembering names?
Yeah, hugely. Okay? Full transparency, you got to practice it. And full transparency, I don't practice it often enough with names. Okay? But yes, absolutely. It's the number one best thing that you can do. And the more visual, the better. Okay? Imagine drawing it out. Imagine calligraphy if that works for you, if you like that. okay? The more you visualize their name, visualize it on their forehead, whatever you want. The more colorful you make it, the more visual you do it, the easier it's going to be to remember. Exactly, if you do that. You could literally, you could imagine little, you know, hi, my name is, okay, my name is Slim Shady, whatever. Anyway, my name is, and then their name. You can visualize that if you wanted to, okay? You can have as much fun with it as you want to, okay? And it works exceptionally well, okay? One more question regarding that, and then I'm going to get on to something else. Yeah.
How often they can picture the word, like kitchen. You can picture the word, I can spell it, but to translate it onto paper, that's the difficult part.
How so? How does it have to be?
Can't spell it on paper.
Okay. Oh, you said the can't word, or the C word. But no, have you had issues with that, or?
I mean, when I look at my notes, it's like, it doesn't come out. I know what I mean. I know how to spell. Like you asked her to spell kitchen, I spell kitchen.
Sorry, this thing's making me hot. I apologize.
But to write it, then it's like, I might spell it my way. That I know what it means, like she says, but not correct spelling.
Okay.
Like a shorthand kind of thing that I've learned on my own.
Say that again?
A shorthand writing that I've learned on my own.
Exactly. Okay. So what she said was correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. So I've got to repeat it into this thing. So what you have felt like was a challenge, which may or may not be a challenge. I don't know yet if it's a challenge. Okay. But what you said so what you asked rather was, well, what if you can't? She used the C word. What if you can't take the words that you're visualizing and then put them on paper? Okay? And then I asked a few more questions, elicited some more information. It sounds to me, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to suggest anything, I'm not trying to implant anything, okay? It sounds like what you're saying is that you would take that, what you were visualizing, and then you would simplify it for the sake of your notes. And then you said you used the C word as far as, you know, so can't take what's actually there and put it on the paper. Is it true that you've had challenge? Is it true that it's challenging for you to do that, or is it that you have just found a way that works better for you?
It's a way that's better for me.
It's a way that's better for you. I knew it.
But the times I can go back and I can try to read my notes and decipher my notes, and sometimes I don't know what I wrote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool. So, what do you think would be a good solution to that? Okay, this is called the do-it-your-damn-self technique. Okay, do you mind?
Record it and then translate it.
Say it again.
Record it and then translate it. It's a lot slower. I don't know.
You mean like, sure. She said, record it and then translate it. Sure, you could do that. Okay, but what you could also do is just, my guess is that you would practice taking notes at one time. Okay, yeah, my guess is that you didn't just start doing. You're like, okay, I want to take notes to simplify things, so let me practice doing this. Okay, is that correct or not correct?
No, I mean, it's something that I've been doing that automatically has been what I've been doing.
Okay. So what I'm getting at, though, well, okay, fair enough. Yeah. So that's just something that you just automatically said. Okay, well, I've got to you know, the dude in red and black is talking way too fast, and I can't take that fast enough, or can't write down fast enough. So let me just do some shorthand. Okay. And then you look at it later. Okay. And it's like, whoa, yeah, maybe I should have just asked him what the heck he said and then translated it better in the moment. Dramatic pause. Okay. Let me break down what I'm getting at, okay? Because I know that oftentimes it's like, I understand it, but it's like, I want to make sure you guys understand what I'm talking about, okay? What I'm getting at is recognizing your own strategies in the moment. And so instead of, because obviously that strategy is not working out so well, okay? So a suggestion, for the sake of time, would be just ask again specifically and practice writing just like everybody else, okay? Say, okay, what's the best way that I can make shorthand notes that I'll be able to understand later, okay? Simply ask yourself that question and practice doing it.
Can I ask one question? Are you an impatient person?
Oh, very.
Very, yeah, that's...
So what was the question? What was the question?
Is she an impatient person?
Is she an impatient person?
Yeah, because if you're impatient, I'm impatient, and That's the difficulty with writing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I just don't have the time to write.
Well, we all have the time. You know, for the sake of hands, raise your hand if you've ever been impatient. Everybody's hands goes up. Okay. It's all about, okay, do you want to solve it? Okay. So if you want to, it's like, okay, well, I can either just say, well, I can't do this because I'm too impatient, but use the C word. I always like to say, if you let yourself hold on to that can't, then you literally put a lid on something, you make it impossible.
It's a 4-letter word.
It's a 4-letter word, yeah, exactly. So is the other C word, but I won't say that. But nonetheless, again, it's all, instead of making up excuses for ourselves, like, well, I can't do that, or it's too hard, or whatever, it's a challenge, that's fair. But anything that you want to get better at in that regard, practice. Not all of it's going to take just 5 minutes. That's something that would take more than 5 minutes. But can it be done? I believe it can be done. Okay? There are classes on it, by the way. Okay? No, I'm not going to teach shorthand because I don't know shorthand. But there's classes on doing that. Okay? And if you don't want to take those classes, you can find your own ways. But it's all about just asking yourself, okay, how much do I want to change this? How much do I want to improve it? And just do it. Okay? Really is that simple. Really is that simple. Regarding this chart up here, okay? Raise your hand if this looks familiar, okay? If you've seen this before, okay? Most people have, okay? So I may or may not be correcting some things that you may or may not have learned. Traditionally, it has been taught that you're looking up, by the way, this is a mirror image, okay? So you're looking at, like, as if you're looking at another person, okay? So it's been traditionally taught, and I have to, I teach this stuff all the time, and I have to remember how it's traditionally taught because I intentionally forget how it's originally taught because it's not true. Okay? But nonetheless, generally when we look up and to our right, it's supposed to be visually created. Okay? And up and to the left, it's supposed to be visually remembered. Okay? Side to side is auditory with the exact same thing as far as create and record. And then down to the left, this I do find to be less general, and I do find it much more common, is self-talk. Self-talk, down to your left, okay? By the way, there is such a thing, it's a very legitimate disorder called trainer dyslexia. When even somebody who has the greatest spelling, who has whatever, something about just on this chart, like, leaving out letters and all that sort of stuff. It's something that I just haven't really concerned myself with, but we all tend, not all, but most of us tend to do that a little bit. It just is specifically when putting something on a flip chart, okay? But nonetheless, the other being kinesthetic, okay? Our feelings, our emotions, okay? So let me give you more of a visual just looking at me, okay? So the thing is, the way that it was originally taught, okay, and I'm going to intentionally swear a little bit more, for the sake of really hearing me without trying to push any buttons. The way it's originally taught is bullshit, okay? But the way it's originally taught is that, okay, if you're looking up and to your left, that's visually create, right. Up and to your left, visually remembered. Okay, this side auditorily create. Okay, this side auditorily remember. Okay, down here feelings, emotions, kinesthetic. Okay, and down here self-talk. Okay, now again, that's not true. I find at least 40% of the time that that's not true in that exact way. Okay. And you're going to read it in the books, you're going to read it from some of the quote-unquote best trainers are going to say that that's the way it is unless they're left-handed. Bullshit, okay? That's not true either, okay? But what is true is that when we look up, whatever direction it may be, we are processing things more visually, okay? There are very small exceptions to that rule, but not many. Not many at all, okay? And again, side to side, yes, that will be auditory. Down, definitely will be more in their feelings. Okay, again, very few, very few exceptions to those rules that I just said. Okay, almost everyone will be that way. But you need to learn to calibrate to the individual. Not just say, well, this is what so-and-so said, this is what so-and-so said, this is what I read. Pay attention to the person in front of you and see where they move their eyes when you ask them a visually remembered question, such as, can you describe your kitchen to me? Can you describe the exterior of your car? Notice I said exterior, okay? I used to say describe the interior of your car, and they're almost always in the car, and it's hard to get them to look up to visualize it. Just what I found. But nonetheless, have something. Say, so I'm just curious, where did you go on vacation recently, or when you went on vacation last? That's something they're most likely going to visualize. Get them looking up in one way or the other, and calibrate to where they visually remember. Okay? Really, for the spelling strategy, that's pretty much all that you need. It's pretty much all you need. And educate them about it. Say, so that's how you do it. That's your strategy for how you spell. You visualize it, or you look, for me it's up and to my right, and you just let them know. Okay? Really that simple. Any questions about that? Cool. Yes?
So you're talking really just do one session, dyslexia?
Most of the time, yeah. Thank you for asking that, though. Thank you for asking that. It's as little as 5 minutes, except when it isn't. What tends to make it longer than 5 minutes is almost always based on their belief. The older they are, the more they've had time to bullshit themselves, or have other people bullshit them. Okay? Kids are usually super easy with it. Parents will be like, what? I've been paying thousands of dollars for tutors, and they've been telling them to just slow down and blah 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 and blah blah blah. Okay? But yeah, if somebody does, sometimes it might even take more than one session. That's very rare. It will. But sometimes if somebody has such a strong belief, they're like, no, I can't. They keep having that can't word in their head. No, I can't. Because I remember that feels like shit, and I just can't. And I remember the teacher, I remember, there she is right there, her face. Where's your homework? Where's your homework? Okay? And they got all this stuff that you need to kind of help them clean up. Okay? That can happen sometimes. Okay? That's the main reason that I love this. It's like, because I don't want to create resistance by saying, oh, come on, yes you can, don't give me that. Okay? Because that's probably what they heard before. Just pay attention, just look straight in my eyes, whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, you open to something just kind of fun, see what happens? I don't care if you do it right. Okay? And then, by the way, I said, I don't care if he got it right, and I meant that. Okay? I'm not concerned how well they do in the beginning. Okay? Take the pressure off. Okay? But nonetheless, I'll do this little number thing. Almost every time, now that belief has changed. Okay? It's like, holy cow. Yeah, I guess maybe I can do this. Okay? And if it's even more than that, then it tends to be kind of a cognitive dissonance, which is just a fancy term for most people don't like being wrong. Especially, and it's like they've been telling themselves something for so many years. It's like, because then they think like, yeah, but then that would mean that I was stupid for holding on to that belief. So I got to hold on to this belief. Does that make sense? Yeah, and that's cool. We're patient with it. They may not be patient, but we can be, and we better be, if we want to be helping people. Okay? Yes.
So I have a grandson who sees all of his letters, alphabet, and everything upside down.
Yes.
But he also sees pictures upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
It sounds like dyslexia to me. Thank you. So the statement was her grandson sees letters upside down and sees pictures upside down. Okay? Yeah, and then I said, sounds like dyslexia to me. How does he do in school?
Poorly.
Okay. What are his specific challenges? Meaning, maybe he is seeing it upside down, but how's his reading? Can he read or?
Yeah.
Okay, can't read at all. Okay, cool.
He reads on a first grade level and he's going into the 6th grade.
Okay.
What is it?
Tricky one very specifically because I could virtually guarantee that if I had him here now, I could totally figure out his strategy for how he. Let me ask you this. Has he ever been able to spell anything at all?
very simple words. But
Okay.
even words like things like that, he gets mixed up.
Okay. I would be willing to bet that there's something more going on that I don't know because I can't talk to him. That's more than just seeing it upside down. Something else is going on there. And it's probably tricky for you to remember exactly. But if you ask him to spell something, do you notice where he moves his eyes?
Usually down.
Yeah. I can virtually guarantee that's the case. Okay. So the thing is that he's most likely, understandably, I know I would, feeling like the pressure's on. I mean, he's probably not saying that word, but he's like, the pressure's on, and he's making it hazy in his head. Okay, making it trickier in his head, and he's not able to. Simply put, he's feeling too much pressure. Okay. So helping him to do that, teaching him something as simple, just finding a way. By the way, all that we need, everybody go like this. Everybody go like this. Okay? Everybody got it? Okay. I'm crushing your head. I'm crushing your head. I'm kidding. Now, all that we need is this much in the beginning. Okay? What am I doing, people at home? I'm just taking my index finger and my thumb and just have it a little, maybe an inch apart. We only need just a smidgen in the beginning. We just need a tiny bit of an opening, okay? And we're very flexible in our approach of finding that opening that gets them out of that looking down, feeling down, stuck mode and start seeing other possibilities, okay? And one of the things that might, how old did you say he is?
He is 11.
11, okay. One of the things that might help is to start finding people that have dyslexia that he can relate to, that he knows. Okay, don't necessarily say, oh, Tom Cruise, like, you mean the Scientologist? Weird dude. There's anything, in case there's any Scientologists, don't roll it, I guess. But anyway. Have I introduced you to this book? Oh, we're on Hover. Anyway, in all sincerity, find something that can, even though it's not dyslexia, it's actually autism. The gentleman that created the, I'm terrible with video games, Hedgehog, whatever. Sonic, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not confusing my video games, my kids' video games, the creator of that actually is very, very autistic. Okay, so you can tell a little white lie. Okay, you can say that, well, he has a lot of learning challenges as well, but look what he was able to do. Okay, he had incredible gifts. Okay, and just take the pressure off and start, just find this much, and once you have it, be like a gentle, loving pit bull. Okay, and build, meaning like just don't let go of that. Okay, you build on that. You build on that. Oh, that makes me feel a little better. Okay, and then you just keep doing that. Okay, does that help? Yeah, cool. Yes.
So once you start, maybe as a young child or even as an adult, getting your words into the visual recall. So you're holding the words up and you're starting to really, your mind is starting to recognize them. Mm-hmm. Will that translate later down to the paper so you're not mixing up like D and B and stuff, because your mind's recognizing the word that you're reading and it's just seamlessly happening?
Yes, as long as they practice it. And thank you for the B and D, okay? One that I could teach in less than 5 minutes, okay? Very common one. The lowercase, and sometimes uppercase, but especially the lowercase B and D. Give you a visual. Everybody got this, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's see here. There's like literally only one other piece of paper, so I'll try to save it. So, where do we go? Okay. Okay. D's and D's, okay? Wow, those look a lot alike, okay? Very, very common for kids to mix those up. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have dyslexia if they do, by the way. Does not mean that at all. Okay, it's very, very common for kids to do that. But especially with dyslexia, it can make it more challenging, okay? This is so cool, what I'm about to teach you, okay? Everybody go like this, little Fonzies, okay? Facing each other, okay? We go like this, okay? Now look at that, okay? Oh, look at that, there's a B. There's a D, okay? Let's get the feeling for that. Okay, so let's hold this up. Here's your B. Here's your D. And while we're at it, let's just visualize an E in between there. What word do we have? Yeah. Okay. Done. Okay. Done. Super simple. By the way, I didn't create that. I wish I did. It's pretty cool. Just super, super simple. Let's see here. Got all kinds of bullet points of stuff I want to cover.
Would it be even more effective if you had it up here?
Could, especially if you gave that suggestion. If you said, you know what's going to make this even easier? You know what will make this even easier? If you move this mic over here, okay? No, if you move them up like this. My answer would be, it might, but if you give that suggestion, like, okay, so here's how we're going to do this, you know, why not use language? Use conversational hypnosis, okay? You know a way, that simple little trick that's going to make this even easier, okay? Does that make sense? How you can, you know, so her question was just simply, would it help to hold the little Fonzies up? Okay, that reminds me to say it in the mic so that they know what I mean. All that I did was I had thumbs up Fonzies in front of me, okay, for you people at home. And if you imagine, if you're doing it, better be doing it, then if you look at the left hand, your left hand, okay, then you're going to see a lowercase b, a lowercase d, okay? If that doesn't help, just YouTube that shit, that's where I found it. Okay, so, let's see, again, looping back to whether it be spelling, whether it be anything, let people get it wrong so that they can get it right. Stop correcting people too soon. Okay? What is so many parents and people that mean well? Okay, so spell kitchen. K-I-T-C-A. Stop screwing them up. Okay, they're neurologically speaking. Okay, learning happens from neurons connecting and all that brain juice. Okay, this is exactly what happens when you correct them, when they're trying to get it. And yeah, in the beginning they are trying. Okay. Everybody look up here for a moment, okay? What happens when you do that, you say T-C, oh, there goes the learnings, okay? Even if they get it wrong, that's good, okay? Maybe I'm the only one who learned by making some mistakes in the beginning, okay? Maybe I'm the only one that isn't perfect from the get-go, okay? So let them, take the pressure off. That's what they're used to. They're used to too many people being like TCH, it's like, oh, simple for you, so I must be simple. Okay? Let me just go down here now, okay? And then feel like crap and talk to myself about that. Oh, pressure, oh, I hate this, pressure. What? Oh, now they're saying I'm slow. Oh, man, learning disability. Oh, I'm screwed, what, blah, blah, blah. Okay? That's literally what happens. Okay? Let them get it wrong so you can get it right. You're not leaving them with it wrong. You're not saying, okay, you got it wrong, okay, cool, yeah, we all need ditch diggers. Okay? You're giving them the space to get it wrong and then you're helping them to get it right. Okay? Let that sink in, because I know that I will say most people, it seems like most people just kind of, it's like, oh, I want to help them. No, you're not helping them by doing that. Okay? Not if you're jumping in too fast. Okay? So let them get it wrong so they can get it right. Even though I mentioned that phonetics screws kids up, it also can help them tremendously. Okay? Teach them, and I don't know the absolutes of linguistic phonetics. Okay? But there's a science to it. Okay? And as for somebody who really has serious dyslexia, okay, it can be incredibly valuable to have them learn, have someone teach them proper phonetics. You know, like it used to be very popular called Hooked on Phonics. Okay? When I first learned about how phonetics were screwing people up, I used to say, hooked on phonics, oh, that must be screwing kids up. No, it actually helps a lot. Helps a lot. But don't just leave it with that, okay? Add the visual aspect with it, and the visual aspect will make it so much easier. The learning phonetics takes more time. It's more complicated. It's more work. This is as little as 5 minutes. But use them both, okay? Especially the more challenges that they have with it, the more valuable it is for them. To put it in another context, especially when they're kids, I highly recommend it. Okay? If they're adults and they're long gone from the school system and you know, don't push them into having to take more classes on phonetics and whatnot. They don't need it. Okay? But as long as they're in the school system, as long as they're in that mode of learning, I do think that phonetics can be incredibly valuable. You know, proper phonetics. I don't just mean sound it out. That's not, you know, proper phonetics actually teaches, you know, so what is the meaning behind IGH? What is that all about? You know, or you know, like when to use it. It's kind of like grammar. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions about that? Cool. Okay, as I mentioned, as I've been mentioning a lot, you know, when the pressure's on, okay, the stress, okay. Here's the thing: little bit of neuroscience that will if it's parents any adults that you're working with, they'll impress the adults. Don't go there with the kids because they'll be like, "What are you talking about?" Also, when communicating with psychotherapists that you want to network with, it'll just simply put, what I'm going to teach you is so simple, makes you sound really, really smart, and it's valuable to understand. Okay? In our brain, we have what's called the amygdala. Okay? Just pausing for a moment so that people can write that down fully and get thorough notes. Okay? Amygdala. Did somebody just do this? Did somebody just do this? Okay, I won't point fingers, but somebody just did this. Okay. You know, because by the way, what did I just do? What was my strategy? Okay, I was slowing down because I'm in this fast mode. Okay, talking fast, whatever. And then I'm like, okay, let me slow down and visualize amygdala. Okay, so AMYGDALA. Is that correct? Yeah. Again, that's for most of the time, at least until somebody masters it. Let me rephrase that. If they're having a problem with it, slow down. Visualize it. Okay. For me, visualize over here. Some people might be over here. Some people might even be down here. Okay. You know, everybody's unique, but most of the time it'll be up here someplace. Okay. The amygdala is what is in charge of fight, flight, or freeze. Okay? It's our stress response. That's what it does. It's what it's hardwired to do. There's a little bit more, but not much. Okay? Now, we also have this part of our brain called the frontal cortex and frontal lobes. By the way, frontal lobes, this is auditory stuff. Okay? If you want to, again, some of this stuff is just so that you impress the people that you want to get referrals from. Some of this language is just so that you're like, oh, you sound like you know what you're talking about. I'll refer people to you. Okay? But nonetheless, the frontal lobe, that's what it can be affected. People with dyslexia, oftentimes they have a genuine challenge with their frontal lobe that affects their auditory channel. Okay? Their auditory processing. Nonetheless, this part of our brain is what allows us to be able to think more clearly. Okay? To be able to think more clearly, to communicate easier, okay? To think more logically, okay? And what happens, theoretically speaking, going all the way back to Stone Age, theoretically speaking, okay? Because we don't know if this is totally true or not, but theoretically speaking, all the way back to Stone Age, some people will say we didn't have amygdalas back there. There is no hard science to that, so just keep that in mind. There's some fake science that people just said that we have 3 brains. It's not true, okay? Just so that the people that know the science won't say, okay, you're an idiot because you said that. That's not true that we've had 3 different brains, just as a side note, okay? But nonetheless, all the way back to Stone Age, theoretically, walking outside of our cave, okay? Oh, geez, here comes a saber-tooth tiger. Well, we don't have time to think logically and be like, well, let's talk about that. Hold on, slow down, take a breath. How do you spell it? Okay, we don't have time to do that. Okay, we either need to try to fight that thing, fight. We either need to try to run away from that thing, flight, or freeze, play dead, and hope you're not lunch. Okay? Fight, flight, or freeze. That's hardwired. Okay? And theoretically speaking, okay, and I think that there's a tremendous amount of truth to this, we're still processing things as though they are a saber-toothed tiger. A test! Oh, geez, the test! Ah, God, oh, man, I don't know. I'm visualizing that big F on the test, okay? And it screws us up, because then it's like, we don't have time to think clearly. We got to either try to fight that test, run away from that test, freeze, play dead, and hope for the best. Okay? We don't have time to try to spell that word. We need to try to fight it, run away from it, freeze, play dead, and hope for the best. We don't have time to do whatever. It's like, oh, please, just don't call on me anymore. Okay? I suspect this makes sense. Okay? So, what do we do about it? Okay? This is where we're a little bit different than so much of, I dare say, because there might be some psychotherapists in this class. Instead of so much of what psychotherapy has done, which is, so this is why you have that problem. We'll see you next week. Okay? Okay? Instead of that, we're giving people the solutions. Okay? So it's like, you know, that's so much of that really is just so that you sound like you know what you're talking about, and you do now. But you didn't need to know all that complicated, no, not complicated, we didn't need to know that stuff to know that when we just breathe, we chill out, we relax. Oh, what do you know? I can think more clearly now.
Can we make a medication for dyslexia? Wouldn't be surprised.
I'm sure that there is, but not specifically for dyslexia. Does anybody know which medication?
For hoarding.
What's that?
There is.
One for hoarding, yeah.
Wow.
For what? This medication?
Hoarding, I've heard.
For what?
Hoarding.
Hoarding.
Hoarding. Oh.
I never, that was so bizarre.
I can't get enough of them.
All right. So nonetheless, so the thing is, one of the simplest things, and by the way, it's not just simple. If you guys are not doing what I'm about to teach you to do, you're practicing being stressed. Okay? And bad news is that you're practicing being normal these days. Fuck that. You don't want to be normal these days. Okay? Normal these days is freaking out over everything. Okay? Especially if you're on Facebook. Okay?
So you get a 5-second rule?
Okay? Perhaps 5-second rule, but nonetheless. And by the way, this is probably review for most, if not all of you, but it can never be reviewed enough. Okay? Proper diaphragmic or diaphragmatic, they're both, I had to look up to make sure I sounded like I knew what I was talking about. They both are words. But diaphragmic or diaphragmatic breathing, okay? And do this with all of your clients, okay? Do this with all of your clients. Teach them how to breathe properly. First of all, you're already taking them into hypnosis when you do that, okay? Even before they get into the hypnosis chair, unless you already have them in the hypnosis chair, whatever the case may be, okay? But nonetheless, I won't ask everybody to take a deep breath in at the moment for the sake of time. But if I did, even by saying that, there's a pretty good chance that at least quite a few of you would go, okay, like that, okay? You'd suck in, I'm not saying you would do that, okay? Many of you, if not all of you, would be like, no, I know better than that, and that's great if you do, okay? But I'm sure you know your clients will do that a lot. But it's like, okay, so suck in this and expand the chest. Okay? Backwards, okay? When we are born, as long as everything's healthy, okay, we are born breathing from our diaphragm. Our diaphragm is right about here. It is designed by nature. Again, we're born this way, okay? Where that belly is dropping down into our, excuse me, where that diaphragm is dropping down into our belly area. Okay? I'm kind of a skinny guy, so I turn to the side, and I do this with my clients, and I let them see here, and I'll put my hand here. Okay? I'll do it like this way so people can see. Okay? And I will demonstrate the ideal way of taking a slow, deep breath in. Okay? So just simply Okay? That was just one breath. Okay? Now I emphasize to my clients, do I expect them to be breathing that slowly and that deeply all the time? No! Okay? Especially when they're teaching a course. You're talking fast, you can't breathe like that. Okay? I just need a little breather, that's all. No, I'm just kidding. But I do tell them, especially when preparing for, when taking that test, okay? Especially if you're finding yourself having trouble spelling that word. Especially when you find yourself, you fill in the blank, okay? Slow down so you can speed up, okay? So slow down, breathe properly, okay? So you can speed up. Okay? And I do tell them to practice, I tell them, I don't expect you to be breathing that slowly and deeply all the time unless you sit on a pedestal and have people bring you food, Mr. or Mrs. Guru, okay? But I do tell them, if you're not practicing that diaphragmatic breathing, you're practicing being stressed. And especially in this society that we're living in, you know, I'm very real with people. It's like, it's not going to slow down, folks, okay? It's just going to get faster. And more complex and more stuff, more and more, you know, I very recently put Facebook Messenger on my phone. I was avoiding that because I don't want them to track me, I don't want that. I've got regular Facebook on my phone, but not the Facebook Messenger. I did that last night. Holy shit, I'm like, get this shit off of here fast. I'm getting like 20 people. Oh, so-and-so's waving at you. What the hell? I don't need this extra input. I can't, this is too much, okay? I uninstalled that thing super fast, okay? I haven't gotten off Facebook, okay? But you know, just too much information. We're getting bombarded with it, okay? So we've got to be breathing properly, okay? Super simple, but wow, is it so important? And yes, absolutely be teaching your clients that, okay? I need a chair. Yes, I'm listening.
I just want to say, I tell my clients, I call it belly breathing because it brings
That's
the
what I do.
attention closer to it.
Uh-huh.
Because I would tell them to do the 5-second rule, which was to get them to do that without telling them about the belly, you know, so they go from, you know, their amygdala to their prefrontal cortex, you know, so then they're making it strategic feeling instead of from emotion, you know. Like
Yes, through, she just simply said that, in a nutshell, she calls it belly breathing. So do I. Yeah.
It just seems to be, they understand it better. But,
Yes, absolutely. Totally agree. Totally agree. Yes, and what I'll do actually, break this down. Well, you can find any YouTube clip, or you can create your own. Make a short little video, okay? Put it on YouTube, whether you want to have it public or private, doesn't matter, okay? Just make a 5-minute little video, okay? And then send your clients a link to it after the session, okay? So I have one that I send him a little Qigong, not little, he's a big guy actually, Qigong guy. Could be anything, there's thousands of YouTube videos on showing proper diaphragmatic breathing, but I just send that as a reminder, that's what I do. But on that note, there's a great one, a Sesame Street one, just write this down, it's actually really cool. So I take a deep breath in and drink a little bit of water. Just YouTube Sesame Street belly breathing. It's an awesome little song that I send it to adults, and I just simply, the way I phrased it, I say that, oh, and here's a fun little reminder that's great with kids, okay? I don't tell them, you know, because I don't want them to think like, you know, that I think, oh, this is a silly little thing because you're silly, whatever. I just tell them that, you know, it's great with kids, just as a side note, but it gets this song stuck in their head. It's a very catchy song. Okay? Belly breathe, this is how we do it. Belly breathe. Everybody's doing it, something like that.
I'm there.
And on that note, while you're watching it, be a social scientist. Watch what the girls are doing, what the little girls are doing. Okay, 2 out of, I think there's 3 girls in that video. 2 out of the 3 girls, even though they're singing a song about how to do it properly, they're actually doing the opposite. They're going. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. Now I can only theorize that it's just that unconsciously taught, you know, like, oh, girls can't have a belly. Okay? You know, the boys are like, oh, okay. Okay? Again, that's just a theory. I don't know if that's true or not. And just for the sake of another perspective, I once did have there was a chiropractor that said, and I couldn't find this anywhere to be true, so I'm not saying it's true, and I actually doubt that it is, but you never know. I could be wrong every once in a 1,000 times. But nonetheless, I could be wrong about this, and he might be right, but I don't think he is. But nonetheless, he had said that actually women, it's actually not best for them to breathe like that because they're built different in that area. I don't know, maybe he has a point. I don't think he does though. I looked, I didn't just say, oh, you're wrong. I tried to find it, okay? I'm a critical thinker that way. I couldn't find anything to back up that.
I took yoga training and they taught me in pranayama to do that. So I agree with that.
So I don't know. So nonetheless, that said, I also want to teach you one that for, at least in this culture, for hundreds of years, has been considered too woo-woo to do. Right.
That's good.
Too woo-woo to do. It's not too woo-woo to do. Nonetheless, did I mention I'm going to be teaching about ADD later as well? So in all sincerity. Technique that I want to teach you guys that I do teach. I don't teach all of my clients during a first session. I pace it, but sometimes I do teach it during the first session. Okay? But it is the best. Yes, I said the best. Fastest. Yes, I said fastest. Most effective technique that I know of. Meaning there could be other ones. Okay? So far, 20 years of consciously studying this stuff and a lifetime of unconsciously studying this stuff, I haven't found anything better for slowing down that amygdala, okay, and having everything working smoothly again, no matter how stressful it is, okay, no matter who is in the White House, okay, and I don't like any of them, but anyway. It doesn't matter what kind of stressful things are going on, it will balance you out automatically. Is it like an on and off switch? No. Is it like a dimmer switch? Hell yes. Hell yes. Okay? And what I'm getting at, very simply, is chanting. Very specifically, Om chanting. Om chanting, yeah. I'll demonstrate, yeah. And the science is in, finally. Took them a few thousand years. Okay, but they finally said, maybe we should study this stuff. Maybe we should hook up some brain scans and do some MRIs on this stuff and see if there really is anything to this. Go figure. There's a lot to it. Okay, that reminds me. If I get forgetful. If you guys, while I'm chatting, as you continue listening well, if you want me to send you some free stuff, including this video, and some other cool stuff, and also links about things that I'm talking about and all that sort of stuff, and some other cool stuff, then make sure to put down your name and your email address. Nonetheless, there is a couple different research articles on PubMed. If you don't know what PubMed is, write that down. PubMed. Just sound it out. It is how it sounds. PubMed.com. Pub. Did I say D?
You did.
D.
What did I say?
B and
Pub. Sorry. Pub is in bar. P-U-B. Yeah. M-E-D.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I caught myself. Nonetheless, PubMed. P-U-B-M-E-D. Okay. That is fantastic for finding legitimate research articles. Okay. By the way, just because it's on there doesn't mean that it's totally legit. You got to read that thing well. Okay. Because I see sometimes people will put it on their blog post and it's as if though they didn't even read the research that well. Okay. But nonetheless, it's excellent for finding real science. That doesn't mean if it's not on PubMed, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, or if it's not legit. And on that note, real quick as well, I always like to say that when science backs up my work, I use it. If it doesn't, I still use it. I'm not going to wait for science to catch up. Remember, it took thousands of years for them to catch up with Om chanting. Okay? I don't need everything to be science-based. I don't need everything to be evidence-based. Talk about throwing away so much valuable stuff. most of my toolkit is anecdotal, but there's a lot that is very, very evidence-based, and I've learned over the years to study more of that, again, because it creates credibility, okay? And that's the main reason that I use it, but it's still also really valuable to understand it. And it's great hypnotic suggestion, okay? I'll actually be talking more about that with Jason Lynette on Sunday, tomorrow. Come check that out. Teach you how to do less hypnosis and get the change by doing less hypnosis. Anyway, so nonetheless, the Om chanting, again, best, fastest that I know of. I don't know if anything faster. So I'm going to teach you guys how to do it. Yes.
O-W-N.
O-M.
O.
Yeah, or O-H-M, but different kind of O.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
Yes. So now, exactly. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to demonstrate. If it's okay with you guys, I sometimes I channel a little bit. Channel my guru. I had to follow around my guru for many years. It took many years to learn what I'm about to teach you. Okay. I had to follow him around, sweep his cape, and comb his afro. My guru, thank you, Saipupu. I had to study him, I had to follow him around, and he taught me a very, very, very ancient chant. It's not the Om chant, I will be teaching you the Om chant, I promise. But he taught me the very ancient chant. It was a little something like this. M-I-C. Amygdala, chilled out. Vagus nerve, smooth as a baby's ass. Super smooth. Vagus nerve, by the way. Okay, I have to make sure. So you come back into the body. So vagus nerve. Okay.
That's great.
Is that all?
What's that?
Is that all you should do it for?
Yeah, actually, and then I have. So I demonstrated. I don't always do the M-I-C-K-E-Y thing. Okay, I don't. Sometimes Sai Boo does not want to talk. Okay, but when he does, I let him. Okay. Nonetheless, I go through the science first. Why? Because then some people would be like, "Give me the woo-woo. I'm here for the woo-woo." Okay. But not everybody is, okay? And they're like, oh, what's just too woo-woo? Give them the science first, and they're like, oh, that's really, okay. Really, interesting, okay? And then they're more open to the woo-woo, okay? And again, but regarding that study, by the way, what they did was they compared it to a rather medically invasive surgery, medical procedure, okay? That, in fairness, is actually very effective. But it's what's called a vagus nerve stimulator. It's a vagus nerve stimulator. Okay, vagus, V-A, not the way that we're used to here, but vagus, actually more the way that it sounds, V-A-G-A-S. Nerve, N-E-R-V-E. Stimulator. I'm just kidding. I didn't want to see if anybody would start correcting me or whatever. I think you guys can spell it. But anyways, vagus nerve stimulator, okay? It's a very, to the best of my knowledge, very new procedure, meaning less than a decade old, if I'm not mistaken. It could be. But very effective. It's great for depression. It's great for anxiety. It's even great for epilepsy. Okay? If you want to give somebody all three of those, that's what you did. No, I'm kidding. No, it's great for being able to help relieve the symptoms of all of those. And again, it's very, very effective. Okay? Guess what they found? Guess what they found? Take a guess. I'm just kidding. They found that the Om chanting was just as effective. No HMO required, or whatever, you know, PPO, whatever. You don't need, it's just, you do it, it works. It is one of those things. Not everything that I teach. Not everything that I teach is pretty much like, you do it, you follow my instructions, and it'll work exactly every single time. Not everything is that way. Some things they need to be more patient, they need to be more flexible. This is one that is foolproof as long as they do it. Okay? That said, they can actually get it wrong. I remember the one client I had who, you know, she was all frustrated about all kinds of stuff. And then I taught her this, and then she did okay in my office. But then, you know, next week she's like super whatever. It's like, have you been practicing the chanting? She's like, yes, I've been practicing the chanting. And I'm like, okay, so just show me how you've been doing it. Okay. Okay, I'm like, okay, I think I see the problem. Okay? So as long as they're doing it though, as long as they're doing it just simply, and they don't have to do it that long, by the way. A little bit of practice, not much practice. A little bit of practice to do it that long. For most people, sometimes people do it just as fast as that.
How long?
How long to chant?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent question.
2 minutes, 5 minutes.
Excellent question. Literally, even as, for me, and I think for most people, if not everybody, even as little as just one chant will help tremendously, okay? But I recommend doing it for at least 5 minutes, okay? Yes, go ahead.
Can I just double check when you said the vagus nerve stimulator, it's good for depression, anxiety, epilepsy?
Yes.
And dyslexia?
Yes, excellent. Now, that said though, the...
Question mark on this.
Yes, thank you. The dyslexia aspect of it, that science hasn't studied yet. They haven't studied that yet in regards to Om chanting. In regards to that, okay.
One last thing on the Om chanting. Can you just write out the order of the letters that you actually chant, or is that?
Yes, I will. Okay, write this down. Write this down. M-I-C.
Yeah. M-I-C-K-E-Y. Yeah.
Good. M-O.
M-O-U-N-Z.
U-S-E. U-S-E. Yes.
It's Mickey Mouse.
S-Z.
C. S-E. Sorry, that's my bad English. That's my terrible English. Yes. Exactly.
S-E. Yeah.
Yes.
That's from...
Yes, it has to be exactly like that. Sarcasm, sometimes.
But it's really cool because I've got a 20-year-old son who's epileptic as well.
Well, and on that note, I'm glad that you bring this up. I'm glad that you bring this up. Let me say this briefly, okay? I bring humor to the work that I do when I feel I can get away with it, okay? Sometimes people might think like, oh, so you're making fun of me? Okay? If you think that's a possibility, I recommend steering away from it, okay? I'm not saying that would be the case, but just on that note. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if it works, who cares?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
This is my kids, yeah.
Yeah.
A 20-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
and have fun with it. Have fun with it. You know, do it with kids. You know, as long as they know who Mickey Mouse is.
It's every 6 months with medication.
Yeah.
So. And
keep in mind, you can do it with just about anything. It's just that, you know, I'd use that with Mickey Mouse as a little bit of humor, but also to prove a point that it really doesn't matter if it's Om or if it's, now I don't recommend, they did for the, and I see your question, I'll get to it in a moment. For the double-blind study that they did, you know, it's always got to be a counter test, if you will, a counter study. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right as far as science talk, but what they did was they had another group that just practiced saying "s," okay, which I just thought was funny. Because I'm like, really? You really think that's a good counterexample? Because, you know, I'm like, that's just going to annoy the hell out of people. But nonetheless, I wish they actually did a counterexample with like M-O and U-S, because my sincere belief, which is just Kevin Cole's independent research and including self-research, you can be chanting just about anything, okay? You could say, or whatever, and you keep going. But that said, on that note, the humming part is very, very important. Okay, the way that I like the way that it seems to me, again, Kevin Cole's independent research has shown, okay, that the what it does basically is it just kind of just loosens everything up. Okay, what do? We got like this stuff on our chest, like, oh, I just got a lot of stuff on my chest. Okay, it just loosens all that stuff up. Okay, and by the way, it also helps to create chakras. Okay, but nonetheless, it just loosens everything up, and then the humming is kind of smooths it out afterwards. I like to use the analogy of a snow globe. Okay, take a snow globe, you shake it up, okay, the snow is going all over the place. That's kind of the is shaking it up so that it's just loosening it up. Okay, and then the humming part is smoothing it out. So it's it's kind of my way of looking at it. Okay, she had a question.
I'm just making the assumption because a lot of times kids need strategies that they can use in school and stuff, and obviously they're not going to be walking through the halls humming or chanting.
Why not? No, I'm kidding.
But
Of course not.
I'm making the leap here that they practice enough that they can imagine.
The man with dyslexia is getting away. Okay, no, little joke. Go on, I'm sorry.
That they practice that enough that they can use that they can imagine it and create the same state as if they were actually doing it.
Yeah, it could. With practice, it could be just as good. Even better with practice. Absolutely.
But just adding that, telling them that I think is important that, because they say, well, when am I supposed to do this? I'm stressed out in school. I'm not stressed when I'm at home.
Yeah, excellent point. Let me say this in the mic. So with the questions and statements is, okay, so kids are at school. It's like, not going to be chanting. They're going to be teased like crazy if they're chanting in school. Okay, excellent point. Excellent point. Yes. That said, even in school, they're going to be stressed out of school too, because they're like, I got to go back tomorrow. But nonetheless, yes, absolutely. Teaching them other strategies, and the strategy that she was saying, which is excellent, is like, okay, so you know how you feel that. Now, just pretend to feel that without actually doing it. Take your time with it. Let me know when you got it. Okay, and have them practicing that. Absolutely, we can experience any emotion that we want, okay? And it's absolute best to be teaching kids this, okay? And so absolutely, yeah, just helping them to just say, imagine it. I would probably just say, just pretend, and smile when you got it, okay? Might say that so that we have some feedback, and if they're smiling, well, we just kind of snuck that in there, okay? So just so I know you have it, smile when you have it, okay? So kind of, doing that. So, yes, excellent points there. Absolutely. Yes?
And I just wanted to say that there's a whole bunch of, there's thousands of chanting CDs out there, and I have 2 grandchildren that, I won't say they're hyperactive, they're just 2 and 4 years old, so they're being who they are. But at night, my daughter had a hard time quieting them down, so I told her in the last hour of play after dinner when they're taking a bath and they're starting to calm down, she plays a chanting CD that calms them down and prepares them, and they sleep very easy.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And again, just especially when they're young, they're so easy, so easy. I'll give a plug for a great book that I can't remember. But if you just look up the Kelly Woods and Melissa Tier's book on working with kids. Kelly Woods has always been my go-to lady when it comes to working with kids. And just again, kids are so easy to work with. Okay, they're so easy, except when they're not. Okay, every once in a while they're not. Let's see here. Some quick notes, because I only got about 10 minutes. We're going to go through some quick notes. EFT can be great. I'm not going to teach you EFT right now for the sake of time. You guys can Google that stuff, but EFT can be great. I highly recommend explaining why it works, okay? Controversial what I'm about to say, but I don't explain it where it's just the meridians, okay? I show them and write this down, or just fill out the thing and I'll send you links for the stuff that I'm talking about. I showed them a 5-minute clip from the film What the Bleep Do We Know that helps us better understand more about how their brain works, regards to neurology, and explains just a great visual explanation. Helps to understand pattern interrupts and all kinds of fun stuff and great stuff like that. And then I'll expand on that and I'll say that, I'll explain, so I'm going to teach you a simple, elegant technique that no, they wouldn't necessarily do it in school unless they found a private place. But a great way to interrupt that pattern. Again, it's controversial to some because they're like, that's not what they were taught by Gary Craig, which is true. They weren't taught this by Gary Craig. But Kevin Cole's independent research has shown, and I love Gary, by the way, I think he's an awesome guy, that it's a pattern interrupt for the most part. There's other factors, okay? But most of it is just a pattern interrupt. At the same time, it's using language in very specific ways. It's a brilliant language pattern. Even though that, okay, well, even though I had some trouble spelling in the past, and I will use that language, okay, even though I had trouble spelling in the past, I really like myself. I'm working with a kid. I'm not going to necessarily have him say I deeply, completely love and accept myself because that's a little bit more adult language. I might say, I really like myself, you know. Does that make sense? Okay? And you can be so flexible with that language pattern. It's a brilliant language pattern, okay? Even though that, I this, okay? You know, pushing off the bad stuff, quote unquote, to the side, pushing the good, or pulling the good stuff to the forefront. Brain gym exercises. You know, this stuff, you know, cross crawls, all this sort of stuff. Do I know for a fact that it works? No, but why not tell them that it helps? I find that when they do it, and I tell them that, maybe it's placebo, maybe it isn't, but it helps. Okay? This is another great one. This one like this, especially because when they do this, most people are going to have a hard time. For the sake of time, I'm not going to do this because I want to get through some more bullet points real quick. But doing this, most people will have a lot of trouble at first. But if you slow down, say, okay, just slow down. And I don't care if you get it right at first. Doesn't matter. Okay? Just about getting better at it. Okay? So slow down and just simply go like this. Go like this. Okay? Like that. Now let's do that again a little bit faster. Okay? Oh, there we go. See how easy that is? Okay? And then, you know, work with it. Okay? And now what you just did was you helped them to realize that even though something seemed impossible at first, bam, that fast, you can overcome that, and that helps with those belief systems. So like, yeah, but I've had this problem all my life, there's nothing I can do with this. Yeah, but my guess is that you never knew how to do this before, but you know, you slow down, and you just put a little bit of practice, and you give yourself some space to get it wrong a little bit so you can get it right, and bam, now you own that shit. Okay? Language is optional. Okay? Does that make sense? Cool, 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 cool. Let's see what else here. Also, one of the things I do, to pre-frame all of this stuff, okay? And this applies for so many different things. I don't care if they're telling me they're dyslexic. I don't care if they're telling me they're autistic. I don't care if they tell me they got ADD. I don't care if it's ADHD. I don't care what kind of, you know, alphabet soup they got. I don't care, okay? I understand their strengths. You guys understand their strengths too, okay? And, you know, you might be thinking, no, I don't. I promise you know some. Okay, if you pay attention to them, you'll notice some. And you can expand on this. But nonetheless, I like to use a fun reference, and I'll just tell them, and I don't care what age they are, I don't care if they remember the show, you just expand on this if they do. I'll say, well, when I was a kid, in like the 1980s, there was this TV show, thank you, there was a TV show called America's Greatest Hero, The Greatest American Hero. Okay? And what it was all about was this really smart, really smart school teacher, high school teacher, goes out into the desert with his FBI friend, you know, just asks, ooh, FBI, interesting. Goes out in the desert, and this huge spaceship beams down a briefcase. Okay, beams down a briefcase, and the school teacher, you know, picks up this really smart school teacher picks up the briefcase and starts walking back to his car with it. But he doesn't notice that while he's doing that, the manual, at that time it looked like a little Atari cartridge, but the manual to what was in the suit fell out. The user's manual fell out. Okay? And so he gets home though, because he didn't notice that. He gets home, he opens up this briefcase, and it's just this bright lights coming out, and he's just like, whoa! And it's this bright red, and this is not intentional, I'm wearing red today. I just realized it though. But he's wearing this, he's got this bright red suit. And he looks at it, he's like, whoa, this looks like a superhero suit. It looks like a Superman suit, okay? And so he's smart enough to recognize that, and he sees that, and then he puts it on, and he's like, okay, but I don't know how this thing works, okay? But he gradually starts figuring out certain things. He realizes that he can fly, he's like, practice different things. He's like, okay, wait a minute. So Superman, he took three jumps before he flew. So I'll do that, and then he figures out that's how he can fly. But he's all over the place while he's flying. He's like, I'm flying all over the place. He sucks at landing, okay? His letters are upside down, whatever, okay? And he's just all over the place. But he's got superpowers, okay? And he learned the hard way, but he gradually learned how to utilize so many of his different superpowers, okay? I got good news for you. I picked up the manual. I studied it. I can teach it to you, okay? Now, certain things take practice. But I've got that manual. Okay? And as long as you're willing to practice and recognize that it doesn't work, the super suit does not work unless you work it, unless you use it. Okay? You got to use it. Okay? You got to practice doing it. Okay? And superpowers. Okay? Thank you. And by the way, studies have been done, at least one study, I don't know how many, but at least one study was done that stated that approximately 40% of the multimillionaires in this country, at least, guess what disability they had? Dyslexia.
So it's a good thing.
It's a fantastic thing. I'd love some of it. Okay? Yeah, it's a fantastic thing. It's a fantastic thing. Okay? And we get to help them to have it even better. Okay? Because we got we know how the suit works. Okay? And even the things that we don't yet know, we can pay attention and we can work together with them and help them to recognize they might actually know the strategy themselves, they just haven't been practicing it. Okay? Make sense? Cool. Super quick plug. Fine, Google. I'm doing a training in Hawaii in November. I know you're probably thinking, oh, that's going to cost me a fortune. Not the way I'm doing it. Found hotels for as little as $69 a night. Super killer deals. Give me a call if you want to train in an awesome place like Hawaii. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I appreciate